The next station is Pinner.
So welcome to Pinner Station on the Metropolitan Line in Metroland in Middlesex, formerly. And I'm just doing a pretty simple walk through the suburbs today to see what I discover. So come and join me. And I start on a bridge over the River Pin itself here in Pinner, where there's actually a brilliant 12-mile walk you can do pretty much all the way along this river, known as the Celandine route, which ends here and starts back at West Drayton, which is where the River Pin flows into. Now it's either the Fraser River or it's the Colne River. There's quite the mess of rivers over that part of West London, because you've also got the Grand Union Canal, which even splits into a different arm that heads towards Slough. But we're not doing that today. I've done that walk about 5 years ago now. I want to discover some other places around this area. So Pinner has a bit of a village-like charm to it. There's a great church up there. There's loads of old buildings along this street, such as the Queen's Head pub here. There's a brilliant sign telling us that it's the oldest inn in Pinner. I guess this is another example of how historic Pinner is, because just up from the church there is a fantastic old house here with another heritage plaque saying that it dates from possibly the 17th century. So I've never really wandered around this part of Pinner before. Down by the high street it can be a little bit car infested, but out this way it is a very nice place. And despite what I've said, I'm actually leaving the suburbs quite quickly because I've been rather intrigued by this footpath that heads out towards some fields, but I am worried it could be slightly muddy. Let's give it a go. Oh wow, this looks great. This is a beautiful way to start a Saturday morning walk. It doesn't look too bad underfoot. Wow, I'm quite surprised with how quickly you can enter a rural scene like this after leaving a tube station. So the path just leads towards a road. I think you can continue straight on towards the West Coast Main Line. I can hear some trains in the distance. I might do that another day, but for now I'm just going to pass up alongside the road and then take another path back left towards the suburbs. So this next path seems to take me alongside the River Pin again, which is exciting because I've never seen it this far up. Of course the Celandine route ends at Pinner, so you don't get to see these upper reaches of the River Pin. It rises somewhere up near Harrow Weald. The River Pin / Celandine route walk is a really good way to explore new green spaces in London, such as places through Eastcote, for example. And I guess that's similar to what this walk will be today, but it will be even more different green spaces that I've not been to, which might not be that interesting, it might not be that exciting, it might be rather generic and mundane. So I might not feature all of the parks in the video, but as I said, we're off to discover what they are, so let's go and do it. So I have traced the River Pin back towards Pinner. The bridge I was standing on at the beginning is just behind the buses over there, the 183s, and this is the more car-centric side, which is perhaps not as nice. Actually, there's still a bit of a charm to it. I do like this Broadway. It's just cars always kind of bring down the place. So here's an example of a new green space in London for me today. Little Common. I mean, it is little, it is a common. What more do you want from me? It's just nice to walk through a place like this, really. So I'm back out onto the road, and I would say in northwest London specifically, the suburbs feel rather monotonous. They all kind of look the same. But distinctly out this way in Metroland, and we'll touch upon later exactly what that is, you do find some rather nice parts of the suburbs, such as this almost Art Deco style Elm Park court here, which is quite nice. Now I've come further up the road into Montesol playing fields, where after I visited this site I'm actually going to backtrack on the road. I thought I'd just take a loop of this site for the sake of it, really, to see what I discover. Well, I've managed to find this by coming in here. The Grimsdyke. I appreciate Harrow putting information boards like this around. An ancient earthwork which once stretched through Harrow for some 6 miles from Cuckoo Hill, which I'm visiting later, to Pearwood Stanmore. Only parts now remain. I found the basketball. Should we give it a go? It's quite bouncy, to be fair. Left hand, one-handed shot. This isn't going to go well at all. Oh no! Why would you do that? There we go. That's all I wanted. Whoa, there's a pretty cool woodland on the far side of the playing fields. I wonder if this is part of that old earthwork. It's actually rather slippery to descend. I have to be very careful here. So I've completed my circuit of the playing fields and I've now backtracked to Pinner Recreation Ground, where was it worth doing so? Perhaps not, but at the same time, you never know what I might discover. And I have spotted that on this sign it is old enough that it predates TfL as an organisation in 2000, because it still says LT, London Transport. Okay, one map is calling this Caitlin's Lane open space, another is calling it Cuckoo Hill, which is where that earthwork begins. It's not much of a hill though, unfortunately there's no viewpoint in here. Oh, why is the exit padlocked shut? That's annoying. I have to climb over this now. That's not exactly fair when you literally signpost it as a public footpath, because now it just isn't, is it? Oh wow, I literally just could have squeezed through that gap. Well, I saw it too late. Well, I've managed to find another little stream. Don't think this is the River Pin at this stage. It shouldn't be. It should be beside a Celandine route at this point. Though it is heading down towards it by Eastcote Manor House. So it's a tributary, but I don't know the name. If I find out the name, I'll flash it on screen. There's a fox over there. He's walking away from me there. Oh no, he's turned around. And he's gone back. Well, I've found it again. But also, I've not, because this is actually a different branch of it. I love little streams like this. Ah, this is a pleasant surprise. There's been a selection of farms alongside this footpath. And now I'm by a busy road. You are one furry horse. Okay, so I've made it to the terminus of the H13 bus route outside St Vincent's nursing home, where it's a bit of a quirky route as it loops a long way around to terminate on the other side of Ruislip Woods at Ruislip Lido. And it is almost undoubtedly quicker to walk to the other terminus than stay on the bus for the entire journey. And I remember when I came here, I actually had a conversation with the driver who asked me where I was going, and I was like, I know as soon as I say it, he's going to be like, it's just quicker to walk. And that's exactly what he did. Because of course I had to ride the full route. That's what I was doing. Now, as much as I love Ruislip Woods and Ruislip Lido, I'm not going to visit it today, unfortunately. I'm instead heading up this footpath towards Northwood Hills. Well, I finally made it up to the next stop on the line from Pinner, Northwood Hills, where I've always quite liked that there's a huge canopy at the entrance so you can read the station name from whatever direction you're coming from. I've come into a local park called Hog's Back Open Space just because it would be quieter in here to do a piece to camera than outside of Northwood Hills station. And despite what the name might suggest, we are ironically lower than the next stop north on the line, which is just simply called Northwood. So should they perhaps swap the names around? Well, This one actually opened later in 1933, at a time when Middlesex was very much expanding its suburbs. This was happening all over the place in places like Queensbury and Edgware. This was pretty much a continuation from what was an original ploy by the Metropolitan Railway to get people to live out in the countryside in brand new big homes and use their express and frequent train services into central London. And they gave the area the nickname of Metroland. But eventually so many people were moving out here that we sort of lost the countryside that they promised in the first place. Although there are still small pockets of that around, such as at the beginning of the walk today in Pinner. In fact, I just read on the notice board that Hogsback open space here was once a huge farmland, but now is completely surrounded by suburban housing, leaving just this small little pocket of woodland left. That's why I was quite surprised this morning to discover that Pinner had a bit of a village charm to it, because especially around the station nowadays, it doesn't quite have that, especially with a huge supermarket across the road with like a massive car park. But if you were to head further out on the Metropolitan Line out of Middlesex, what is now Greater London, to places like Rickmansworth and Chorleywood, then you still sort of see the dream that the Metropolitan Railway was promoting at the time, and you get some nice views as you pass through on the train of the countryside, especially as it's a place outside of London that has the London Underground as well. That combined with the sort of express services that you can get, especially travelling between Finchley Road and Wembley Park, with the forward-facing seats on quite a big train, makes the Metropolitan Line quite possibly my favourite tube line on the network. It just has a great history to it. Of course, it was the world's first underground railway, opening in 1863 between Paddington and Farringdon, which almost ironically is now not quite the Metropolitan Line. It's more the Hammersmith and City and Circle, but part of that route from Baker Street is still the Metropolitan. To be fair, I have actually climbed a bit of a hill, and surprisingly I can see the Wembley Stadium arch in the distance, as well as some buildings in the City of London. Well, there is still a reference to farms in the area in the form of Pinner Hill Farm Clock Tower here, which is perhaps the only notable landmark on today's walk, but what a fantastic landmark it is. What a great structure. I've seen it described locally as Tooke's Folly, and apparently during the Great Exhibition in 1851 in the Crystal Palace in Hyde Park, before it moved to Crystal Palace, there were some Russian bells on display there that were then housed in the clock tower, but they've apparently been lost to time. So it's a bit of the mythical mystery of Middlesex, that. I don't remember spotting it when passing by on the H13 bus. Just passed through too quickly, I guess. Didn't realise it was there. I think these are some of the stately homes that would have made up Metroland. To be fair, I think this is a private estate, but I'm walking through anyways. Well, coming out of the private estate, I guess I'm now on the very edge of London, if this sign is anything to go by, welcoming me to the borough of Hillingdon. And from here, I've just got a very long footpath that will eventually take me back towards the Metropolitan Line tracks. But before I do that, I just spotted over here a coal tax post. This looks like one of the best preserved ones I've ever seen. Oh, well, it was really nice until now. Can I skirt on the edge here by the fence? Ah, not really. Not enough space. I'll do penguin walk like this all the way along. It does actually work, to be fair. Oh, I'm not here though, there's no space there. So I've managed to find both the Metropolitan Line and the London Loop, because if you're on the outskirts of London, of course, you're going to come across that orbital footpath. And I remember that final section of it very well, right up alongside the tracks, right beside a golf course, up to Moor Park station, where I'm ending the walk. Now, I've actually enjoyed today more than I thought I was going to, so that's always a good thing. And I would class this as part of a subcategory of walks that I like to call tube station walks. I've done a few of these before that just link green spaces in the suburbs where there's not a whole lot around apart from maybe a river, if you're lucky, a little stream, and the stations are usually kind of like the most notable landmark in an area. So for example, ones I've done in northwest London have passed Alberton and the two Sudbury stations. I've done one past South Harrow, Rayners Lane and Eastcote. There's one on the Channel past Ruislip Manor, Ruislip Gardens, South Ruislip, and that ended at Hillingdon, didn't it? Yes, it did. Oh, I've even done one past Norfolk Park, Harrow on the Hill and North Harrow. So it's nice to do another section of the Metropolitan Line and get a few more stations under my belt, exploring the areas around them today, kind of seeing just how much of an area I can really explore. Oh, I'm getting interrupted by a train. Now, I would say that I'm not particularly fond of the Metropolitan Line stations beyond Harrow on the Hill, such as Pinner and Northwood, but Moor Park, I would say, is the exception. So let's head up there. Well, I see my destination. Better go round there onto the platforms. So Moor Park probably has one of the most rural entrances to any tube station on the network, because you come out of your path through the woods and it's just there. So this is the Sandy Lodge exit, and that was actually the original station name for Moor Park, that basically just leads up to a golf course that I think shares the same name, and then this path just heads up towards a private school. I like that there's little bits of artwork as you take the subway. It's quite strange though, because you have to do quite the considerable loop to go through the ticket barriers to get to the platforms. The other entrance is much more notable, but still quite indiscreet, and I really like it. It does just lead you out into a private estate. It's probably one of the most cut off tube stations in London because there's no local bus services or anything. Even the Google streetcar has just not been around this area at all. And despite it being quite quiet, it is quite a big station because it has 4 platforms. These even used to be National Rail platforms. The Chiltern trains used to stop here, but nowadays it's just the fast services up towards Amersham and Chesham that skip all the stations to Harrow on the Hill. They're not running now, they only run during the peak, so I've got to catch an all-stopping service. And I think I'm missing a train. This is also the only station on the network to be in both zones 6 and 7. And they actually choose this station to be the one to represent stations which are in both fare zones in the key on the tube map. And it is where I'm ending my walk today. So that's 2 in a row that has left London. That excites me for the upcoming summer months where I get to do a lot more like that, and I start to go further and further afield. So I hope you join me on them, subscribe so you don't miss it. Thank you for coming along today. Why is it a Harrow on the Hill? Oh, I've got to change. So this is weird to see. There's a London bus stop here for routes 328 and 346, but they don't run anywhere near here, so they are Hertfordshire routes, I guess. Funnily enough, the London 346 does actually run on Mondays to Saturdays. It might have gained the Sunday service by now, because it did get extended recently. But then if you go to the timetable, there's only one for the 508. So I have no idea what's going on here, because I don't know bus routes outside of London that well.